Most people think there are two kinds of coconut: the green one you drink on vacation, and the brown hairy one in the grocery store. But that is barely the beginning. Some coconuts are bred almost entirely for water. Some are built for meat and oil. Some grow on shorter palms. Some are hybrids made to survive disease. And a few are so strange that when you crack them open, the inside looks less like coconut meat and more like coconut pudding. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what kind of coconut you are looking at, what is inside it, and which ones are actually worth hunting down. Young green coconut. This is the coconut most people picture when they think of fresh coconut water. It is picked before the fruit fully matures, while the husk is still green and the inside is mostly liquid. Crack one open, and the first thing you get is clear, lightly sweet coconut water. Not coconut milk. Coconut milk is made later by blending or pressing the white meat with water. The meat inside a young coconut is soft, thin, and almost spoonable. It is not the firm white chunk you get from a brown coconut. It is more like a tender gel lining the shell. This is the drinking coconut, refreshing, light, and built for a straw. But give that same coconut more time on the tree, and it turns into something completely different. Mature brown coconut. This is the classic grocery store version, the one that looks like it has been rolling around in a pirate ship for 6 months. The brown shell you buy is not the whole fruit. The original outer husk was much bigger and fibrous. It was stripped away, leaving the hard shell and those familiar 3 little eyes. As the coconut matures, the water inside gradually becomes less important, while the white meat gets thicker, firmer, and richer. This is the coconut used for shredded coconut, coconut cream, coconut milk, coconut oil, and dried coconut flakes. If the green coconut is the drink, the mature brown coconut is the ingredient. And then there is a coconut that looks like it skipped right past green and decided it wanted to be orange. King coconut. This is the bright orange, almost golden coconut most associated with Sri Lanka. At first glance, it can look like somebody dyed a regular coconut for a tropical resort menu, but it is a distinct variety, grown especially for its water. King coconuts usually have less thick, useful meat than a fully mature brown coconut. That is not the point. Their whole identity is the liquid inside, sweet, refreshing, and meant to be opened fresh and drunk immediately. So if a green coconut is the standard vacation drink, King coconut is the colorful specialist. Less about baking, more about hydration. And now we get into the types that are not defined by the fruit first, but by the tree that grows it. Malayan dwarf coconut. Dwarf does not mean tiny coconut. It means a shorter, more compact palm compared with the towering tall varieties. The fruit can still look very familiar, but Malayan dwarfs are known for color forms: green, yellow, and golden. Their lower stature makes them popular in landscapes and easier to manage than a palm that grows like it is trying to reach an airplane. They also start producing earlier than many tall types. So for growers, a dwarf palm can mean coconut sooner. For the rest of us, the interesting part is this: the same basic coconut fruit can come from trees with totally different growth habits. And one dwarf became especially important because it proved tough enough to survive a problem that wiped out huge numbers of palms. Fiji Dwarf Coconut, also known as Niu Leka. This variety became a major name in coconut research because of its resistance to lethal yellowing disease. That matters because lethal yellowing can devastate coconut palms. The tree declines, the fruit drops, the leaves yellow, and eventually an entire tropical landscape can change. The Fiji dwarf does not look like some wild mutant from another planet. It is still recognizably a coconut palm. But it became valuable because toughness can be just as important as flavor. This is one of those coconut types where the story is not really what is in your glass. The story is why the tree is still standing. But growers wanted more than a dwarf. They wanted some of the speed and resilience of a dwarf mixed with the size and productivity of a tall. Maypan Coconut. The name sounds like a tropical vacation package, but it is actually a hybrid. Maypan comes from crossing a Malayan dwarf with a Panama Tall. The goal was to combine useful traits from both parents, a more manageable, earlier producing dwarf side, and the more traditional tall palm side. This is the coconut version of building a custom player in a sports game. You are not starting from scratch. You are combining traits that growers already value. And that is the thing people miss. Coconuts are not one standardized fruit. They have been selected, crossed, moved between islands, and shaped by what people needed from them. Which brings us to the old school giants. Panama Tall Coconut. This is closer to the classic image of a coconut palm. High trunk, wide crown, and fruit hanging way above any reasonable human reach. Tall varieties generally take longer to start producing than dwarf varieties, but they can live longer and become massive, productive trees. The name Panama Tall tells you two things. First, it is a tall form. Second, coconut names often come from where a variety became established or was selected. This type is less about a weird-looking fruit and more about the traditional coconut palm experience. A long-lived tropical tree producing nuts for water, meat, oil, husk fiber, and everything else humans figured out how to make from a coconut. Jamaican Tall Coconut, also called Atlantic Tall. This is another classic tall variety, but it has a little more personality in the trunk. Some Jamaican tall palms develop a crooked shape and a noticeably swollen base. So if Panama Tall is the clean postcard palm, Jamaican Tall can look like it has been through some things. The fruit is still recognizably coconut. The difference is the tree's form, regional history, and the traits growers have preserved over time. But here's where coconut history gets really interesting. Not every coconut was shaped primarily for easy drinking or thick meat. Some were shaped by the ocean itself. Niu Kafa Coconut. This is one of the ancestral forms of coconut, and it is built like it expects to survive a long trip across the sea. The fruit is more angular and elongated, with a thick, fibrous husk. That husk helps protect it and keeps it buoyant. Think of it less like a snack and more like a natural survival capsule. That husk also means more coir, the fiber used for rope, mats, brushes, and other products. But here's the thing. People gradually favored a different kind of coconut when they wanted more food and water inside. Niu Vai Coconut. This is the more rounded, domesticated form, associated with the higher proportion of water and edible interior compared with the husk. In other words, Niu Kafa is the ocean traveler. Niu Vai is the people's coconut. Over generations, humans selected coconuts that were more useful to carry, drink, eat, and plant. So the coconut you see today is not just a beach fruit. It is the result of nature, ocean travel, and thousands of years of people choosing which traits were worth keeping. And then, somehow, coconuts got even stranger. Makapuno Coconut. This is not the coconut you crack open for a big splash of water. Makapuno has an unusual soft endosperm, the white interior of the coconut. Instead of firm meat lining a hollow center, the inside becomes thick, soft, jelly-like, and often fills much more of the shell. It is creamy, sweet, and prized in Filipino desserts. If normal mature coconut is something you grate, shred, or press into milk, Makapuno is something you want to eat with a spoon. It shows up in ice cream, pastries, candy, and desserts like Halo Halo. This is the, wait, that is a coconut? Coconut. And Indonesia has a close cousin with its own texture and identity. Kopyor Coconut. Kopyor is an Indonesian specialty coconut with soft, loose, fluffy flesh instead of the firm and attached meat of a normal, mature coconut. When you open a regular coconut, the meat is stuck tightly to the shell. With Kopyor, the flesh can separate and break apart into soft pieces. It is often used in cold desserts and drinks because that unusual texture is the entire appeal. You are not buying it because you need coconut oil. You are buying it because regular coconut cannot give you that experience. Makapuno and Kopyor are a good reminder that coconut meat is not one fixed thing. Depending on the variety, it can be thin and tender, firm and rich, jelly-like or fluffy and loose. So what did we learn? Young green coconuts are mainly for water and soft meat. Mature brown coconuts are for thick meat, milk, oil, and cooking. King coconuts are the bright orange water specialists. Malayan Dwarf, Fiji Dwarf, Maypan, Panama Tall, and Jamaican Tall show how different the palms themselves can be. Niu Kafa and Niu Vai tell the bigger story. Some coconuts were built to survive the ocean, while others were shaped for people to drink and eat. And Makapuno and Kopyor proved that the weirdest coconuts might also be the best dessert coconuts. Next time you see a coconut, do not just ask, is it green or brown? Ask what kind of coconut it is trying to be. If there is a tropical fruit you want broken down next, drop it in the comments, because the fruit aisle is way stranger than it looks. And be sure to subscribe for more foods explained just like these coconuts were.